G'day.
Hey, I'm just passing through on the way back to Melbourne and I'm trying to find a place that does lunch. Did you guys make food?
Yeah.
Cool. And do you do coffee?
Yeah.
Great. Can I get a piccolo latte and an avocado smash?
You got better odds of pushing shit uphill with a rice knife, love.
Well, what about cold drip?
Look, Galt. Takes 3 days for the water to get from the dam to the dunny so that I can flush bloody Gary's Grogan. Probably best you just have a pig's ear and be done with it, alright?
Pig's ear. Okay.
Okay, for you.
I'm just a bit confused, so I'm just gonna go.
Rack off, you fucking left-hard drongo.
Look, mate, I didn't come here
To fuck spiders.
to fuck spiders.
What are some of the other ones?
Okay. Well, suck me off with a yabby pump.
Nice. Give me another one.
You're the one fucking the pig. I'm just holding the tail.
You little bloody Anzac. You wouldn't be dead for fucking quids. Well, you should get inside, get your shit together, have a good time with old mate. Before you go, I got something for you.
G'day, mate.
Surreal.
Listen, sorry about before. I had a bit of a Barry Crocker. Didn't mean to shit you.
Yeah, no, all good.
Listen, I'm dry as a nun's nasty, so I came back in to bend the elbow with me china plate here. Reckon I can wrap my laughing gear around a pie and dead horse and sink bulk piss till I get blind as a welder's dog.
Does a crowbar sink? Of course you bloody can. Fuck me dead, Gaz. She was useless as tits on a ball before, mate. What'd you do?
Mate, you're gonna get fucking hammered, mate. And then I'm gonna fucking kill somebody.
Get shit-assed, mate, you high-vis dickhead.
See you next week, bro.
Huh? Yo, beauty!
Cheers, big ears. Snake bite.
Lobsters, mate, lobsters. Lobsters up your brown eye, eh?
And it's a go, my friend. I got this feeling it will be tonight.
This guy's on me, isn't he? Hello. I'm at the Northcote Social Club. I'm talking to Immigrant Union. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How are you going?
Yeah, pretty good.
You guys have been recording, right?
Yeah, a lot. A whole album.
Yeah, we've finished it except for like a couple of vocals
Okay.
and maybe one or two guitar overdubs. And actually a little bit more Elmo. I'd like to put some more Elmo on.
Okay.
What's Elmo?
Just this Elmo toy that we've been using.
Oh, okay.
Sounds really
It's
cool.
like a Elmo microphone that has effects on it. It's for children.
Is it shaped like Elmo?
Yeah, it kind of
It's the kind of thing it looks like you should just be holding right now.
Yeah, it would totally go with that whole
All the time.
deal.
It's like,
yeah.
we've been using it for creating just feedback sounds when you just want to get some feedback, but you're too lazy to plug in a guitar and deal with all that. Or if it's too late at night, and people are asleep upstairs,
Yeah.
then you just go into it, and it sounds exactly like a Marshall stack.
It's really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know what the album's going to be called?
Not exactly. No.
What was the first one called?
First one was self-titled.
Yes.
Immigrant
Second
Union, then Anyway.
And then
Anyway, and then this one, maybe we'll just call it Immigrant Union 3.
3.
Really?
It's the
I
third
thought you
one.
had an opportunity to do something after Anyway. Like ... Yeah, that's our name.
Right. Like when Jonestown did Take It From the Man, then their next album was Give It Back.
Yes.
Oh,
Why not?
we could call this album... How do you spell that? Anyway.
I reckon there are H's
G's
in
and
there.
H's.
Anyway. How do you spell that?
PFT. PFT.
Yeah, okay, done. No, but seriously though, what was the question?
Who
That's
knows?
the name of our album.
Tell me about Watch My Mouth.
It's about that horrible feeling when you really, really, really want somebody and you just are just hanging around with them. And they pretty much know it, but you just feel like, okay, tonight's gonna be the night. With Watch My Mouth, I just like that phrase, but there's a lyric in it where it says, at some point the lyric says something about if I watch my mouth, then I'll get you right. How's that lyric?
If I watch this time.
It goes, and it's a go, my friend. I got this feeling it will be tonight. I can't lose control if I can watch my mouth. You're mine. I'll get you right.
I'm glad we got there. I was hanging on to every word.
Oh man.
The lyrics are great.
Cool.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Faye wrote a good on that. It's fucking awesome.
This week on Weird Morning Rituals, watch as this lonely man, dressed only in his underpants, eats 12 cloves of garlic.
One by one, down they go. Purifies the liver. Sanctifies the mind.
What a mad dog! This young up-and-coming lawyer puts out 8 bowls of cat food every single day.
Toodles! Bonnie! Susie!
But she's got no cats.
Bernie!
She's very unwell. Stare in horror as this 28-year-old footy player tries to rev himself up using his limited understanding of positive psychology.
Game day, baby, come on. Fuck yeah, you got this, you're the fucking best, you're the best. Love you.
Watch in amazement as he fails miserably.
Game day, come on.
He's crazy! Okay, so this guy really has lost it. Please, tell the audience a bit about what you do.
Well, it's simple really. I have a very busy work week, but I love eating muesli. I don't have time to chew from Monday to Friday, so I get all my chewing done each Sunday morning. I chew thoroughly, and then I spit it back out into the smaller bowls, so that I can gulp it down quickly during my tightly scheduled week.
Let's see it in action!
What do we have here? Who's this? It's this bottom here. Oi, Buzz Buzz. Buzz 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 Buzz. Oi, come out here.
It's basically a place which contains electronic musical instruments from the very earliest instruments all the way up to new modular current electronic musical synthesizers.
Robin had a collection of these old instruments himself, and then we happened upon a couple other people that had these really big collections, and so sort of a combination of this idea of starting an independent place for people to have access to it and for it to be taught and for people to learn a lot more about it, along with this huge collection of instruments sort of came together at the same time.
So one of the most amazing instruments that we have in the collection and that is currently available to our members is this Fairlight CMI. So it's called the Computer Music Instrument, but it was designed by a company in Canberra in the late 70s. And it's basically the first digital sampler. The guys who were designing it were trying to make the perfect synthesizer, which is an instrument that could perfectly recreate an instrumental sound. And what they realized was the best way to do that was to record a real instrument and play that. And to them, that was kind of not a failure, but a compromise. But what they did was they totally revolutionized the way that people worked with music after that.
So the place works in sort of like a bit of like a gym, in that you pay an annual membership and that then gets you access to the studio.
It's not a recording studio in the traditional sense, it's much more like a workshop.
And people can not only just work on their own thing, but they can also interact with other people. So it's as much of a place of like giving people access to these machines as it is giving people access to each other.
When electronic music sort of started in the 50s and 60s, there was this scare campaign really that it was going to completely dehumanize music. But then what's interesting now is that analog synthesis is seen as bringing the human back, because we went so far down that digital path in the 90s and so much music is now being made with a computer mouse.
The early 1970s is where most of these instruments begin. So they've only really been around for 40 odd years, but already there's a sort of culture out there that says, oh, these machines should be put in perspex and put behind glass and not used and not touched. They still make amazing sounds, they're still completely inspirational, they're still completely relevant, but it's the actual subjective experience of sitting down in front of the machine, just having to start from scratch and find your own way through them.
If you've started the voyage with a sine wave and you've patched your sound, the fact that you've started that sound there and you've got to a certain place is so much different to having hit a drop down preset menu and picked alien fuzz. There's something empowering about that. Well, for a start, you now understand how alien fuzz works.
Yeah, but also you treasure it, like you put it in a different place in your track, or you feel very differently about it because you've made it yourself, you know, it's your sound. We thought we'd open it for the first 3 years in what we call like an incubation mode. The studio is one part of that plan. The school, which is the thing that we're starting this year. Then the third part of it is to actually put on gigs and concerts and to release records. And we've sort of begun on that a little bit already. And then finally, in the longer term, actually we've got a workshop out the back of the studio here where we repair and maintain all the synthesizers. So we want to open that up to the public. So that means people can come and learn how to like maintain and repair their own gear, or to build their own machines from scratch, or to find old synths and find new ways of working with them or circuit bending them. So we have like quite a long-term strategy in terms of how we see the organisation growing over the next few years.
The first thing that most of us do when we feel pain is we try and stop it by distracting ourselves. But that means that if we do feel a fair bit of pain, it can kind of fuck with our lives a bit. Like, we can start treating the person we love really badly because we're blaming the pain on them, or we can start kind of going clubbing a lot because it distracts us from the pain that we're in. Not that there's anything wrong with clubbing. I've been using this technique, I kind of made it up, but it seems to work for me, and it helps you deal with emotional pain. So I'll demonstrate this technique that you might want to use next time you're feeling some pain. I need a volunteer though, so.
Okay, I'll do it.
Cool. Okay, so, hi.
Hello.
So, are you in any pain, like emotional pain right now? It could be anywhere in your body. Are you feeling any tension in your body, or?
My back's a bit sore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel any emotional pain?
I have some old pain that hangs around, and I have just like, you know, like I wish I could work in the arts full time pain. I have 2 different types of emotional pain.
Okay, so let's work with the kind of pain that hangs around a lot for you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about this pain, where do you immediately feel it in your body?
I think it's here.
Okay. Okay, so what is the colour you think of when you think of that pain?
I think it's blue.
It's blue?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's electric blue.
Electric blue, okay. Because you've got to believe in this for it to work.
I do believe in it.
All right. So just close your eyes. Imagine that colour blue really intensely, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to imagine a swimming pool, huge swimming pool full of that electric blue colour.
Yeah.
Visualise that.
Okay.
Now I want you to just dive into it.
Physically or mentally?
In your head.
Okay.
Okay, so just imagine really diving into that colour.
Mm-hmm.
Is it changing colour at all?
Yeah, I think it's going purple.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want
You
you to do...
seem very mistrusting of my instincts.
Okay, I'll own that. I'm sorry. Okay, so the purple, come out of the pool, hop out.
Yep.
Now there's a swimming pool full of purple.
Yep.
And then just dive into it really fully, so you go fully under it without your head's under.
Yep.
So basically, we'll stop it there because we've got limited time.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the thing. Dustin, my dog just farted. It wasn't. Anyway, so basically you just keep doing that until you feel as though the pain's lifted, wherever it is in your body. So you might have to keep changing colours for a little bit, but you keep diving into it until you feel a little bit of a release. So it's just a way of physically embracing the pain you're in rather than running away from it.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
G'day. We're at the Newtown Social Club. I'm talking to the Laurels.
That's the wrong camera to be doing that at. That one.
We had Jasper, but he left. I'll put this down. This is their new album, Sonicology. I reckon that it's really a lot more danceable than your previous music. Was that a conscious decision to get dance floor bangers going?
Maybe. But none of us can dance, so...
Yeah, but you're a disco man.
Yeah, I'm a disco man.
Disco man peers, that's what they call you, isn't it?
Yep.
What other influences are working their way into this?
Lots of hip hop.
Yeah?
Yeah. Gangsta.
Ninja
Wu-Tang.
Turtles soundtrack.
Yeah, Ninja
It's
Turtles
like-
soundtrack.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell me about other bands in Sydney that you're liking at the moment.
We're really into Den.
Who are Den?
They're kind of, I guess they're kind of like post-punky, synth, gothy.
They look really tough.
Piers was complimenting them on their promo shots at rehearsal last night. He came to rehearsal really drunk and was like, "You guys have the best band photo I've ever seen."
Did they say thanks?
Yeah.
Do you remember our first photo shoot that we did where we wanted to be like Public Enemy? So we like brought like a globe so we'd be standing around it as if we were plotting a world takeover.
Yeah. It looked terrible.
It didn't get you,
We weren't even in like a businessy office place where you would plan that. We're just in like some wrecked garden. Just looked terrible.
There's new photos out,
Yeah.
then promo photos. There's nothing sus going on though.
Nah, they're pretty standard.
They're good.
Standing in front of brick walls and shit.
We did one in this abandoned grandstand, and it had like just a massive penis graffitied on the wall behind us.
Cool.
But then we later figured out we like stared at it for a while, and it was actually.
It's
a
actually
bomb.
bomb, yeah.
Ah, not a penis. I once accused a guy of drawing a penis on a poster of mine that he was bringing to me to get signed. And I was like, did you draw a dick on this? And he's like, no. And I go, what's that? And he goes, I don't know. And then I accused everyone in my band of doing it.
Yeah.
Like they were all playing a trick on me. And it was just like a print on the shirt that I was wearing on the photo.
Right.
And I had to apologise and say, I'm sorry I accused all of you of drawing a dick on me. Anyway, let's wrap this interview up.
It's been pretty awkward.
Do you want to slide down this table?
I
try
think
it.
maybe. Well,
It's
can
like-
you do it first, and then if it looks safe, then.
Looks safe or looks cool?
It's not even a slide then.
Oh shit! Alright. They're gonna kick us out. We're getting kicked. She's coming.
Really?
Yeah, bar manager's coming.
Oh.
She's shaking. Yeah.
Let's
not
call it a day. I don't
Okay.
want to get in trouble. I'm really happy for everything that's happened. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.